I don't have much time and they're watching my every move, but I have some super important information for you. Did you know that there's a spaceship that can actually travel faster than the speed of light? And I made it up all by myself. Well, technically, Miguel Alcubierre thought of the idea. So it works by bending space-time. Now, you might be asking, what is space-time? Let's take a look. Okay, so before we get into space-time, let's do a quick review of space. So let's take a look at a two-dimensional coordinate plane. Now it's going to be two dimensionals because we have an x-axis, which we can travel right or left on, and we're going to have a y-axis, which we can travel up and down. So we have two dimensions, or two directions, that we can move in. Now if we want to find a point on this coordinate plane, we're going to start from our x, so we can travel out a certain distance, and then we can travel up a certain distance. So we could plot a point right there. If we wanted to plot a second point, we could continue to move in any direction, and then move up or down as well, and plot a second point. Now, so far we're in a two-dimensional space, but now if we connect these 2 points, we now have one line. Now a line is one-dimensional. There's only one dimension to it. You can only travel, you can't travel up or down on this line. You're just traveling across the line. So we can represent two-dimensional ideas with a one-dimensional supplement. And this is going to be beneficial for later on. So now let's take a look at a three-dimensional coordinate plane. So in a three-dimensional coordinate plane, we still have x and y, but now we have this new coordinate z. Now, it can be a bit confusing of the switch. So rather than thinking of it as a coordinate plane, let's pretend that this is the corner of your room. So we have one wall here, we have another wall here, and here we have the floor, maybe some carpet, whatever's going on. Now, we can agree that we have three separate planes. We've got this wall here, we've got this wall here, and we have this floor here. Now, just drawing it out, let's pretend that we're focusing just on the floor, and let's say we have some carpet in this floor. Well, now this carpet is probably a square or rectangle. So in this 3D space, we can have 2D shapes. So in the same way that in a two-dimensional space, we can plot one-dimensional shapes, we can plot 2D shapes in a three-dimensional space. This way of representing dimensions in a dimension lower is actually incredibly helpful when we get into space-time. So now we're finally ready to talk about space-time. Now the nice thing about it is that the name is very indicative of what it is. Space-time is just when an object is moving through time. Now, it's not necessarily that the box is traveling through time, like if you kicked a soccer ball. The ball is not space-time, the time is not space-time, but it's the combination of both the physical components of the ball or the cube or whatever shape you're dealing with, and then time itself. So we actually plot it as a, you can plot it in 3D, but I'm plotting it here as a two-dimensional relationship. Now, using this idea we talked about before of showing three-dimensional relationships or higher dimensional relationships in 2D. So it's basically something is moving through space over time. So if something was moving constantly through space over time, we could represent it as a straight line. Now, this is our last piece we need before we talk about this new type of spaceship. So, how would the proposed spaceship work? Well, we know we can't travel faster than the speed of light because the laws of physics won't really hold up at that point. But if we're going under this assumption that we can draw space and time linearly as a line between two variables, space and time, then we could potentially draw our trip something like this. So we have our starting point, and then we have our ending point marked by the X. And if we're trying to bend space-time, the spaceship would essentially do this and bring the points of space-time together. It would not actually travel at any speed. It would just warp all of the space around it. It's like if you had to go to work one morning, and instead of getting in your car, you just made your work be right outside of your house, or really far away so you never have to go again. But that's our basic explanation of how bending space-time would work. If you'd like any more secrets, definitely let me know. I am going to be on the run from the government, so I do not know how much you'll see of me. But again, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great Halloween.